Welcome to my dungeon. This is the caveman. I have a little project going and I want to show you some ideas. I have the geometric square selected. I have turned off the freeze aspect. The outer edge of the quilt is 48, so I'm going to change this to 48. And the quilt is 62 inches long. I'll place this geometric square on the screen. The machine is sitting at the upper left corner of the quilt. So when I go to repeat patterns, see, everything is set. My reference is upper left corner. I have the size of the geometric square at 48 by 62. I'll click OK. There it is. Put that on the screen. Before I do anything else, I'm going to select this and convert it to a boundary. Convert pattern to a boundary. I will move the machine so that the needle is in the upper left corner of the actual quilt. That means that I have it in the upper left corner of the inner boundary seam line. So now I want to, this boundary is about 5 inches, so I need to subtract 5 from each side and 5 from the top and bottom. So I need to subtract a total of 10 inches. I'm going to change this to 48 or 38. Change that to 38. Change this to 52. And go to repeat patterns. Okay, I'll change the total width to 38. Change this again. 52. Now when I click OK, it's going to place this geometric square inside of here, 5 inches from this outer edge. There it is. That gives me my 5-inch border all the way around the quilt. Select this, turn it into a boundary, convert it to a boundary. It's a pattern. So I'll do this, and now I can start thinking about doing some patterns in this. I'll place the machine back in the upper left corner and go and get my cross hatch border, wavy. And now it's 48 inches across here. So I'll select that. I have changed the height of this to 4.75 because it's a 5-inch border, and I'm going to just place that across the top border. Click repeat patterns and put in 48 inches as the total width. Okay, 48, and just click OK and let it put that pattern in there. That looks okay. Now if I want to, I can select this. I can rubber stamp it. I'll hit escape to get out of that. I'll move this one out of the way. Rotate it 90 degrees and 90 degrees. Escape. I can just move this into position, hold down the control key, and move it. That gets rid of the handles. Just position that in position there. This is just it gives me a picture of what I want to do with this quilt. I move the machine out of the way, and I will put these side patterns in. I don't have a border corner here to put in. I can do a couple of things. Now, since this is 52 inches, and I have 5 inches here and 5 inches there, so this is actually going to be, instead of 62 inches rather, it's going to be 52 inches. So I'll select this, and I'm just going to go to repeat patterns, I think. The width here is the correct width for that pattern, 4.75, but the total height I want is going to be, the total height is going to be 52. Because remember, the quilt is 62, and I have this total as 62, but I have to decrease it by 10, and I'm just going to put that on the screen. This pattern was already designed vertically to go in there, so that's why it works like it does. While I'm at it, I will just rubber stamp this, because I'm going to put it on the other side also. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. I'm going to escape out of that. I'll tell you why. I'm just going to move this into position. Hold down the control key to get rid of the handles. Put it in position. I can get my end anchors by clicking on this arrow till I get the end anchors. I'll turn on the end snap, and I'll snap that to there. Snap this. Okay, I'm finished with that. Escape. That gets me out of this. I'm going to place this on the screen again, the same pattern. I go to repeat patterns. I'm going to put another for the other side. Okay, total height 52. Click OK. It just puts it on there. What I'm going to do now is simply get my edge anchors, and I'm going to move this over. So now, here's the whole thing. This is what I need to connect to, is that point right there. But if I look at this, this is the point there, so I will flip this horizontally. Now, it's in the correct position. I'll just go and get my anchors. I want the end anchor. End snap is on. I'll just grab this, snap it to there, grab this, snap it to there. It's all in position. That's how quickly I can set this up to see the picture of what is actually going to be quilted in this. So that's all I need to do for that. Over in this quilt group, I'm just experimenting with different patterns, and I actually made this little center flower here, this little flower from this. I used nodes and divided it and made it start here and end there. Then I experimented with different ideas of putting in patterns into sashing. And what I have been using and what I like is if I select this pattern, this is 2 repeats of that P2p diamond, and I hold down the control key and go down and select the little flower, I can place these in the sashing. I'm just going to use Alt P, and I'm going to show you how it's going to work. I'm going to turn on the grid snap there. I snap it to there, here, like this. Now that goes all the way across the quilt. That's all I need. So I could use a machine head, and that's what I'll do when I actually put this in there, is do that. I have quilted the top border. I drew an actual boundary around the maximum area. Then I placed 1 repeat from the side in. I put the pattern across the top, and then 1 repeat on the right side. You know, you can do this, and I wanted to start sewing right at this point, right there. Yeah, I have this where you can see everything I have on the screen, and when I placed all of these patterns down this left side, I moved 1 repeat over here because you can see I can quilt 1 repeat, but I couldn't quilt 2, and I could quilt 1 on the right side, so I moved 1 repeat over and connected it all up. Then the start point, the way I set this up, the start point was quilting from the top towards the bottom, and I put this repeat in. Well, it would want to quilt this. It would actually want to quilt across here and then come back and quilt this. So in order for me to be able to quilt starting there and end at that point, I used order join. I'm going to toggle all of these as sewn so we can see what's going on. And I'll toggle this group as sewn. And that'll only leave this group right here. So I'll zoom in, and I will start this. I think what I'm going to do is select this and go and get my end anchors, and I'm going to turn on the end snap, and I'll snap that, make sure that's snapped to there the way it's supposed to be. That looks okay. Go back to get my edge anchors, and what I'm going to do is just click right on this point. So select it. I will right click and I'll order join. You see, when I did order join, it has selected everything here. You can see that I have all of these have turned this color. They were black. They turned this color after I did order join. That tells me that everything should be in the correct order. You see the start is here, next is there, and the end is way over here. So that's the way I want it to stitch. So I stitched that out. Now I'm getting ready to roll the quilt because I've stitched everything that I can stitch. Before I do that, I've stitched the blocks, the first row of blocks, and I used these 2 patterns, this P2p diamond with 2 repeats, and then the little flower, and that's going into a little 2x2 square right there. And I went back and put this in and this using a pattern as a background, and I drew a boundary here and put a boundary around the outside. I did fill inside, then I came back and I turned that boundary into a pattern so that I could stitch around these. So that's taking less time by converting a pattern to a boundary, or a boundary to a pattern, and being able to stitch it. So now I'm ready to roll the quilt, and I will put the next repeat in here, and then I will go and do the next row of blocks. So I'll be showing you that. It is time to relocate everything, and I'm going to use this point right there to do the relocate. I'm going to relocate Shift All to one point. So I'll just right click someplace, get my relocate, Shift All to one point, select that, and I have the end snap on, so it's snapped to that point. I'll click that point, click yes. Now my entire pattern group, even these, are located around this point. I'm going to now do a new boundary to identify my next quilting area. All of the patterns that I have stitched here are relocated around that point right there. I have my boundary on the left and the boundary on the right. Now I'm going to move a couple of repeats into position here to quilt in this space. I think I can do probably 2 repeats. I can't do 3. I'm going to toggle these unsewn. Okay, it starts up there and ends down there. So what I will do is I will select these 2 repeats, and I will right click, relocate, shift selected to one point. I have the machine sitting at the point where I want the patterns to go, but I'll just click on this point and click yes, and there they are, just moved right in with no problem at all. And if I want to, I can go and get the end anchors. I can make sure that that is snapped to that end point. Okay, that looks good. I'll have to manipulate the patterns a little bit and turn off the end snap. I'm going to move this pattern over this way just a little bit. Now I'm going to get my side anchors and push this in slightly. Maybe I only need to do that with one. I'll push both of them in. I'm going to grab these 2, select them, decrease this just a little bit, and I need to decrease this one a little more. Okay, that looks good, and it should all quilt. I'll save this, I'll quilt these. The left side border has been quilted with these 2 repeats. I'll go over and work on the right side. I'm on the right side of the border, And you have to always check and double check. Never take it for granted that when you relocate it on the left side that the right side is going to be in the correct position, because as you can see, the needle is on the quilt at that point right there, but on the screen that's not where it is. So I could, I guess, just pull this down, but that wouldn't be the right way to do it. So I'll right click. Again, I'm going to relocate, and I'm going to shift all to one point. This is my point right there. Click yes, and check and see. That looks good. Next, I will select 2 repeats over on this side, toggle them as unsewn, now here's what we need to look at. The start is down here and the end is up there, but that is not what I want to do. So I'm going to select them. Okay, here, look what happens. Look what happens. I select up there, I select down here. It messes everything up. So what I need to do is select this one and then this one. Now, I haven't changed anything, but if you select them in the wrong order, you can foul everything up. I am going to do a reverse start and end. Okay, now I can't do that because it's not available. So I'll combine the patterns, then I can reverse start and end. See, it was grayed out before. I could have selected each individual repeat, and I could have done that. So I'll select this. I will relocate, shift selected to one point, and I'm going to use this point. And the machine is sitting where I want it to be, and there it is. It has moved everything into position. I'll have to check the alignment. I'm going to select this, decrease the left side a little bit, and I'm going to decrease the right side just a tiny bit. That's probably okay. I may get my end anchor, turn off the end snap, because that does weird things sometimes. I'm going to move this to the left just a tiny bit. That looks good. I'm ready to quilt this. I'll save it, then I will quilt it. Okay, the right side now is quilted in the border. I'll simply click OK, cut my bobbin thread, save this, and I'm ready to do the interior, do the blocks in the next area. I'm finished with the border area for the time being, and I'll come back to this after I quilt the blocks. I'm going to go to the block, yeah, I have one row of blocks completed with the sashings between and the sashing in between the 2 rows. Now I'll do a relocate so that I can set up for the next area of quilting. And how I'll relocate is I'll just use the point of this diamond, and I'll relocate everything in this quilt group around that point. The crosshair is there, but the needle is actually at this point. I can just right click somewhere, tell it to relocate, shift all to one point. And it tells me to click on a known point. I'll turn on my end snap. It snaps to there. left click, click yes. Now everything is located around that point. I'll draw new boundaries and start working on the blocks and the sashings. I have two boundaries, one around the applique and one around the block. So I'm going to get this background pattern and go to repeat patterns, change my reference point, pattern location to the center, and I will just click OK. It will place that pattern in there. Now I need to adjust it, and I'll select it, move it so that it fits pretty good. I may expand it. I want it to be where when I do the fill, it is going to make sure that it's going to cover everything. So this needs to go out that way a little bit. And one way of doing this is I can change my anchors and try to move this. I like to have this line so that it comes pretty close to the corner, just like that. Now back a little bit, right there. And this one I want to bring it so that it comes down in that corner. Even though it's down below, that's fine. I'll check the other two corners. That one looks okay. And that one looks okay. I'll change my anchors back to the side anchors. I'm going to right click and I'll click over here to fill it. Okay, I'm always looking for some little place where right here I need to divide that out, because I don't want it stitching around here and then there. Right click, get my nodes. I'll hit the D key to divide it and divide it again. Delete that part. Select it again. Get the nodes. You have to divide it, because remember it stitches up there and back. Now I'm going to go down and get the nodes and divide it down here. I'll hit the D key. I'll go with the greater than, less than. Get the nodes, do some more dividing. Get rid of that. Make sure I didn't get rid of something that I need. No, it looks good. Up here, I'm going to try to get rid of this stuff. And remember, anything that has that's a black line is going to stitch. And then I'll do this again. Okay. See, my boundary now should be red all the way around because it is selected. And I got rid of the black line, so now I'm ready to stitch this pattern inside that block. I'll save it. I'll go and get my quilt icon. Now this will start out, and it's going to stitch from the edge of the applique up to the corner and then across the top and down to the applique and back up and across. It will do this all the way around this block. And I like this because it is going to stitch around the block, and I won't have to stitch in the ditch around the block. stitched around the block, and then it's stitched back from this corner back to the point of beginning. Remember, it started here, went to the corner, then went around. So when it got to this point, it stitched up to the corner and back to the start point of the pattern. This is how I will stitch all three of these blocks. So now I'm going to go and stitch this sash that goes across here, and then I'll stitch the sash between the blocks. I've started the boundary, and this is the corner of that little 2x2 block there, that cornerstone. What I'm going to do is click up there and back down here, and then across to the other side, and then up and back, and that way when I get all the way to the other side and go back, this will all be one boundary, and it will be easy to delete. So here I'm going to show you that I have clicked this corner, go up and click that upper corner, back down, across the 2-inch block to the corner, up and back down. Then I will just continue across all the way to the other side and then come back. See, I'm going across the bottom of the block to the corner of the 2-inch square, then up and back, across, up and back. And then I will just continue to the edge, and when I get to the edge, I'll click up to the top and then right back across. Now this gives me a boundary that is one boundary for everything, and it'll be easy to select and delete when I'm finished. Okay, my boundary is in, and I'm going to place the needle about in the center of this, about the center of this sash. Now I'm going to get my patterns. I want this pattern. Hold down the control key, go down and get this pattern. These are P2Ps. Now it will place these in order. So get my P2P icon, right click and right click, and then right click to the right end of the sash, and click across the 2-inch square, and then click to the right end of the next sash, across the 2-inch square, and to the right end of the sash. Click stop, and I'll exit out of that. See, it's put all the patterns in exactly the way I want them to be in there. All I have to do now is make sure my patterns are adjusted properly and then stitch. The patterns have been adjusted to fit the boundary. Now I'm going to stitch those out. That is finished. I'll just delete this boundary because I don't need it anymore. Notice I deleted the entire boundary the way I drew it. It was just able to select it and delete it. And what I haven't shown you, what I'm going to do next, I didn't do it as I was working on this block. See this boundary? I'm going to select the boundary. I'm going to convert it to a pattern, boundary to a pattern, and I'm going to stitch around this applique. That's pretty interesting to do that. See, I can recycle things and kind of cut down my clicking time. So I'll just quilt around that applique. So it's going to go right around it. Converted the boundary to a pattern, a stitchable pattern, and it's going to go right around that applique. almost, it won't take long to get around there. There it is, coming up to the end of the, there it is, it's tying off. So that worked very well. Now I'm going to go back and put in the boundary for these other two sash areas and stitch those out. The two boundaries have been clicked in place, and I have my P2p, that is point to point diamond 2 repeats selected. I'll take the machine, I'll click that point, stop, and then that point, and stop. I'll just scroll over 5 clicks to my point to point icon and click the start point and the end point, hit stop, move to the next one, start point, end point, stop, and I'll hold down the upper right, press the lower right to exit out of that mode. I will now adjust my patterns to fit, and actually it looks pretty good. I may decrease the size just a little bit, get my side anchors, and bring this side in and this side in. Do the same over here. That looks good, and I'm just going to stitch those out. Okay, it won't take long to finish this. The second row of blocks and sashings has been finished, and I will stop for the day and finish this quilt tomorrow. It has 2 more rows of blocks, and then I'll have to finish the border also. So I'm going to shut everything down for the day.